Good morning. Will the person with the iPhone DX3 please identify themselves for attendance?
Yes, this is Willie Cupid with Texas Parks and Wildlife.
Good morning, Mr. Cupid. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
On this one.
Was helping Cindy, so I already told him.
Jaime, can you hear me? This is Commissioner Gonzalez.
Yes, sir. Sure can. Good morning.
Okay, the video, I'm still not with the video.
Okay, sir.
Jaime?
Good morning, Chairman.
Okay.
How are you?
Good. It is 9:30 in the morning, so I will call the meeting to order, and I will welcome everyone to the meeting today of January the 19th at 9:30 a.m. I would like to establish a quorum. Jaime, if you could proceed with that.
Yes. And if all voting members and non-voting members can please turn on their cameras. Mr. Jose Hinojosa.
Present. Good morning, everybody.
Morning, sir. Chairman David Garza.
Present.
Mr. Daniel Lucio.
Present.
Mr. Hudson Deoy. Mr. Hudson Deoy. Commissioner David Fuentes, he did call me. I know that he was gonna be about 5 minutes late, so we're waiting on him, and he's got his staff on already.
Okay.
I'll be here on
Serving as
Cohican.
proxy. Perfect. Thank you, sir. Mr. Joey Trevino. Mr. Joey Trevino. Mr. Joe Khalifa. Mr. Joe Khalifa. I know he texted me, he's having some computer issues. He's trying to log on as we speak. Mr. Jose Caso. Jose Caso. Miss Sonia Lambert. Miss Sonia Lambert. Riazul Mia had emailed Chairman he was going to be out.
Right.
Commissioner Eduardo Gonzalez, I know that
Present,
he's having some technical issues with his camera, but he's there, he's present.
present, yes.
Commissioner Raul Peña Jr. Commissioner Raul Peña Jr. Mr. Alan Moore.
Present.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
And Mr. Rene Estrada.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. Mr. Willie Cupid.
All
This
these
is for non-voting
I've
members.
seen mine, but
I'm
they're not
here.
seeing me.
Okay. Mr. Brian Hertug.
Do I hit?
Ms. Nelda Barrera. Mr. Adrian Perez. Ms. Shonda Mays.
Yes, Mr. Salazar. She is out of the office today. I will be listening in on her place. Elijah Casas Giello.
Good morning, Mr. Casas. Thank you for joining us. Miss Megan Ingram. Good morning, Megan.
Good morning.
Mr. David Ramirez. Mr. Manny Cruz.
For them to see me.
Mr. Manny Cruz. Mr. Ramon Macias.
Good morning.
Morning, sir.
Manny Cruz has a conflict right now, but this is Rick Carrera with the Lower Grande Development Council. I'll be here along with Mr. Katz Nelson. He's with us this morning as well.
Good morning, gentlemen. Thank you for joining.
Thank you all.
Yes, sir. Mr. Ramon Macias, IBWC, he was not available. Okay. Lupita Trinidad Ramos.
Sure, this is Ramon Macias.
Oh,
I did
good morning.
acknowledge.
Okay, great. Good morning, sir. Thank you. Apologize for that. Mr. Nick Gallegos.
This is Michelle. I'm here for Nick.
Perfect. Good morning, Ms. Garcia. Thank you.
You should already be on there.
Chairman Garza, as of now, I only have 7 voting members on board.
Jaime, I just logged in. Sonia
Perfect.
Lambert.
Sonia's
Sonia
on.
Lambert, we've established quorum, sir.
My apologies. We were having internet connections.
No problem, ma'am. Thank you. Chairman,
Mr.
we've
Chair.
established quorum.
Jaime, you can hear me, but you can't see me, right?
That's correct,
Right.
Commissioner.
I'm having trouble with, I guess, the camera here, but,
That's fine, sir. You can continue working on that while we go. As long as you can hear us, okay.
okay.
And we'll keep an eye out for any other members that join us afterwards. We do have a quorum. So we will go on ahead and thank everyone for being here this morning. Item number 3 is any public comment. Jaime, do we have any public comment that we have received in a written form?
No, sir. Not as of this minute. No, sir.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Item number 4 is consider action as appropriate for approval of the minutes from the previous meeting of December the 15th. Everyone received in the packet the minutes of the meeting. I will entertain any corrections, deletions, or additions to the minutes, or in a motion for approval also, if there are none.
I move we approve them as presented, please.
Okay, is there a second to that?
I second that, Joe.
Ms. Lambert.
Awesome.
Okay, motion and second. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item number 5 is discussion and update from the Water Development Board. Megan, I know you're on board. Would love to hear whatever comments you might have for us this morning.
Thank you, Commissioner. Appreciate that. Hello, everyone. Happy New Year. Really, my only update today is to congratulate y'all as a group, along with Christina's team, on the successful submission of the technical memorandum on January 7th. So our team did receive that. We are reviewing it now for administrative completeness. And Jaime and Christina will be hearing back from us by February 4th with an administrative completeness response. And after that, we'll be doing a more detailed review for what we're calling informal comments. And the result of that process, which I'll get into more at that point, will be informal comments, technical and detailed, that y'all can consider for the rest of the planning cycle. They don't require official response. We just want to help you with regional floodplain development for the remainder of the cycle. But working on administrative completeness right now, y'all will be hearing back soon, and y'all are doing a great job. So I just wanted to provide that update.
Thank you very much, Megan. Any comments or questions for Megan from any of the board members? If not, I just want to, thank Halfin Associates for being timely, presenting the report on time, and we look forward to hearing from you in regards to any additions, deletions, or corrections that need to be made by the 4th, you said, of February?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Megan.
Thank you.
Discussion also as it relates to Region 14 of the Upper Rio Grande Valley Liaison. Jaime?
Chairman, I just wanted the committee to have a discussion and possible appointment. We did have Miss Vanessa Herrera Rosales that was appointed as a liaison for Region 15. She was a Region 14 liaison on our behalf. And obviously she's no longer with us, so the committee can consider appointing a liaison to attend these meetings and just kind of be the person to bridge between regions 15 and 14, sir. And leaving it up for the committee to discuss and possibly appoint if they wish.
Any discussion on this matter?
What is Region 14? What does that cover? Hello?
That's the upper Rio Grande region.
Okay, that's okay. Very good.
Jaime,
So
have we
that's just north above us, sir, you know, and towards the El Paso and above Valverde County, all that area in the west. So, like I said, we did have Ms. Rosales that was assigned to that as the official liaison, so.
Does anybody express interest in being the liaison?
I mean, anyone up towards the upper part of our region, really anyone in the Maverick
That would
County
make-
area, Kinney County.
Well, too bad Rio Azul isn't around. Maybe he could
well,
volunteer.
maybe we can volunteer him since he's not around. Joe,
Well, he's
is
up
that a-
there.
is that a recommendation, Joe?
That is my recommendation. But you know, I know his time is limited. Demands on him are substantial, but that would be my recommendation.
Any other recommendations? I think that's a good one, you know. Is that a motion, Mr. Jose?
Yes, I'll make a motion to request Mr. Riazul to take on that role. If he's so sees it fit, then I would approve that designation.
Okay. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
I'm sorry, was there a second?
I'll second it, Commissioner Gonzalez.
Okay. Okay, that being the case, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Congratulations to Rizul, you know. We'll have a call.
That'll teach us not to be absent from these meetings, I guess.
Well, and he's got good connections in that area, so I think that he will serve a good purpose for us there, you know.
I think it would make sense. Thank
Item
you.
number 7 is consideration of nominating and electing the original floodplain group officers. This has to be done yearly according to our bylaws. So we've got to go through this process, okay, on a yearly basis. First nomination is for chair by members. And there is absolutely no monopoly on this position. So, you know.
I move that we remain with Commissioner Garza as chair, and he's doing a good job, and I'd love to see him continue in that role. That's
Second.
my nomination.
Second.
Second.
Bunch of seconds.
Are there any other nominations? We're nominating here. If there are none, then all those in favor of me continuing as your chair for another year, say aye.
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 All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries, and you know, you'll bear with me for another year. Discussion, well, we took action, nomination for vice chair by the members.
Currently, I'm sorry, Chairman, currently Commissioner David Fuentes serves as vice chair.
Right. Do I hear any nominations for vice chair?
If he's willing to continue in that role, I would nominate for him to remain as vice chair.
He
Second.
is willing. He is willing.
Okay.
And I'll second that motion, Commissioner Gonzalez.
Okay. Any other nominations for vice chair? If not, all those in favor of Commissioner Fuentes continuing as vice chair, please say aye.
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 All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Nominations for secretary by the board members. Currently, Mr. Salazar, we have Sonia Lambert.
That's correct.
And, you know, Sonia has been very good and prompt in making sure that all the signatures that are required for us are done. So, you know, I appreciate the work you've done, Sonia, so far.
Thank you.
I nominate Ms. Lambert as the secretary. Commissioner Gonzalez.
I will second that, Joe.
Any other nominations? If not, all those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Congratulations again to the slate. We will continue to work to make sure that we keep things on track and moving forward, you know. Item number 8 is discussion and presentation of the final negotiated amendment number 1 to the water development contract number 2101792500 for the regional flood planning grant as approved by the regional flood planning group on December 15th of 2021, which was agenda item number 7. Jaime?
Commissioner and Jaime, I sincerely apologize. I'm sorry, but just before we move on, quick thing. In addition to the chair, vice chair, and secretary, I think you also need to do a quick pass on the 2 members at large.
Okay.
That's my bad for not catching that before, Jaime. I'm just clicking in my brain.
Okay.
Which would be the 2 members at,
It was Jose Hinojosa and Riazul Mia.
okay. So we would go back to item number 7 for
7.
that, Megan?
That's correct, Chairman.
Even though they're not listed on there, we can still take action?
I think we can put them in under RFPG officers, item number 7. If
Okay, that'd be
I'm
fine.
okay with that. Yes, sir.
Okay. So do I have a motion on the 2 at-large individuals that were mentioned?
I so move.
Is there a second?
I'll second. This is Daniel Lucio.
Thank you, Mr. Lucio. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. The members at large are appointed. Okay. Okay, I'm sorry. We'll
Thank
go
you,
ahead.
Ms. Megan.
Thank you, Megan, for bringing that.
Thank you.
to
Sorry
our
about that.
Also, we'll go back to item number 8, which is the final negotiated amendment number 1 with Water Development Board. Jaime?
Chairman and committee members, we received approval in our last meeting for the amendment and to do the negotiations. We finalized the amendment number 1. I just wanted to bring it back out of courtesy to the committee to show them what the final numbers were exactly as they were laid out by the Water Development Board. The 3 additional tasks that were added, the drainage district as group sponsors will collect for their administration fees under task number 10 and task number 13. And that's what it looks like now. And then the following breakdown shows like that. We had originally budgeted 60,000. We increased it by another 60,000 for related expenses. For salary and wages, we have currently 2 accounting staff and 5 administrative assistants or that assist. I've got a total of about 7 staff that work every time we have a meeting and put together. And then our accounting staff, of course, to review all the invoices from Half and Associates as it relates to their tasks. And I'm just presenting, if anyone has any questions or any discussion, but I just wanted to bring the final amended and it's as it was sent to everyone before. And really no action is needed for this item, sir. Just kind of wanted to see if there was any discussion or if anyone had any questions. Just wanted to be transparent with the group and let them know how we broke everything down.
This particular budget did not change from the last presentation, right, Jaime?
No, sir.
Okay. Any discussion or questions from the group? If not, we'll go ahead and I'm going to ask that we move to item number 10. I think that Christine has some information for us that will help us. On item number 9, we'll skip over it temporarily and move on to item number 10 and have Christina present. That is discussion, presentation, and approval of supplemental agreement number 2 to the Professional Engineering Services Agreement number CHCDD1 21-003-05-15 with Hafen Associates, Inc. for the regional flood planning for Region 15 Lower Rio Grande Valley Regional Flood Planning Group to reflect a revised Exhibit C1 project team, adding a new sub-consultant as per Article 8 of the agreement, subject to final legal review. Jaime or Christina, whoever wishes to present at this point.
Now I'll let you take the floor. Do you want me to share the?
Yeah, can you
supplemental?
share it, Jaime? I was
Yes,
trying to figure that out. So thank you, Chairman. Yes, after the last meeting, we did get together with the Rates Inc. To go over the scope associated with task 11. And we're happy to please that we will be including them. So we have proposed to add Rates Inc. As sub-consultants to perform task 11 for us under this new amendment. And we're allotting them, all the fee associated with that.
So Chairman, part of the drainage district's procurement process is that we issue a supplemental agreement to the existing contract with Hafen Associates. In this case, it would be supplemental agreement number 2. And it would be just adding to the project team, Exhibit C1. This supplemental will go in front of our board next week. I don't foresee any issues since the board is giving us the authority to let the committee do what's best for the region. And this is the current team member that we are introducing, Rates Inc., at the amount of $104,273.
So could this be approved just subject to final legal review, Jaime?
Yes, sir.
Megan, is that okay with you all?
Yes, Commissioner.
Okay. Are there any questions, any comments, or anything else that anyone wishes to make in regards to this? I appreciate Hafen Associate and Christina working hard to, try to be as inclusive as possible in getting the best plan produced that we can, and including all of the municipalities and the entities and the areas that possibly have not had the outreach that we needed them to have. So, I thank them for all of that work. But it's open for comments, questions, discussion, whatever anyone wishes to do at this point. If not, if there is no discussion, I'll entertain a motion that we approve the supplemental agreement number 2, subject to final legal review.
So moved.
So
Mr.
moved.
Chair. Commissioner Gonzalez.
Okay,
I'll second it, Joey.
any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. That being the point, item number 9 is moot, so we will not discuss it. I will entertain a motion to table it permanently on item number 9.
Or do we Commissioner, Mr. Chair, do we just take no action on that since it's no action is going to need it?
Whatever the wishes of the board are. We can table it, or we can take no action.
I move to table it. I
Okay.
move to table it indefinitely. This is
Okay.
Joe.
Because if you table it, it's gonna come back, no?
Yeah, it's going to come back. That's why I said take no action on it, or nobody makes a motion, and then the agenda item dies as
Okay.
because no action was taken. No, because if you
So-
table it, If you
Well,
table
we
it,
haven't had a second. Is there a second? If there's no second, it dies.
Right.
Okay. It's dead, Joe.
All righty.
Okay.
I'll attend the funeral.
Okay. Item number 11 is discussion and update by technical consultant. And Christina is on board with Half Associates to give us updates on task 2A, 2B, 3A, and 4B. And it's not going to be a 2-hour long presentation, I was assured. You know, we want to get the information out to everyone in a concise manner and offer the ability for any questions to be asked by anyone in the group. So Christina, it's all yours.
Thank you. I'm going to see if Sam, can you share the PowerPoint? Awesome. So good morning, Chairman of Planning Group, Jaime. Thank you for having us here today and Happy New Year. Presenting with me today is Sam Edwards and Skylar Levere with S&B Infrastructure. So next slide, Sam. Today we're going to present task 2, which is the flood risk mapping, and give a brief introduction to standards, which is our remaining item on task 3. And then I'll just give you a brief update on where we are on task 4B. So I'm going to turn it over to Sam.
Thank you, Christina. So we wanted to give a quick update on where we are with task 2. And first, remind everybody of what task 2 is. We're going to be, there's 3 different measurements for the risk analysis. Hazard, exposure, and vulnerability. Hazard is the biggest, is the part that we are trying to wrap up right now, which is pulling together the 1% or 100-year and 500-year floodplains. And so we're going to be, so far we have taken the floodplain quilt provided by the Water Development Board, and we are tasked with improving that floodplain information with best available data for both the 100 and 500 year. And then with task 2B, we're going to move that into future conditions. So we will be tasked with sizing providing an approximate floodplain to based on what development's going to look like in 30 years. So lots of assumptions there. This is the information that we were provided by the Water Development Board. And for Region 15, nearly 80% of the information we provided is approximate study Zone A floodplains from FEMA. We do have about 20% of the area is detailed study areas down there in Cameron County, primarily. And then right now, we don't have any base level engineering studies available, but some of those will be coming soon. And we don't have any flood studies provided from the Texas Water Development Board. We're considering all the different flooding types from riverine, surface, coastal flooding, and then if there are any other areas that have historically flooded that aren't mapped, we will try to incorporate those. So the new information that we are getting is base level engineering studies, which were just approved by FEMA in a couple of areas of our region. That information we are trying to get a hold of. It probably won't be incorporated by the March submittal, but we hope to have that information included by the draft in August. We've gotten a few local studies from cities, counties, and river authorities. Really, the only information that we have been provided from those happen to be in the areas that Half Associates has done studies in, and they're really limited to Hidalgo County, precincts 1 and 4, cities of FAR, Alton, Weslaco, Harlingen, and Eagle Pass. We have detailed local studies that were completed by those by those entities. And the biggest information that we have now is the Fathom data. So I'd like to talk a little bit about that. It was very recently released. HAF received that information middle of December, and we've reviewed most of the data, and it compares reasonably well with the FEMA floodplain. The Fathom data comes in 3 parts. Fluvial, which is that middle picture right there, that's riverine flooding. Pluvial, which is the far left picture, that's rain. That was really a rain on mesh information. It pretty much identifies all the little tributaries that were not previously identified in the FEMA floodplain studies. And then coastal information, coastal floodplain, including tide, surge, and waves. Where the Fathom data, so the 80, like I said, 80%, most of region 15 is an approximate study area. So we wanted to compare that with the Fathom data. And in this picture right here, the light blue areas are the FEMA Zone A floodplains. Those are approximate study areas. The dark gray area is the fluvial, and then the blue areas are the pluvial. So the fluvial, the gray areas, here's a picture with just the fluvial and the FEMA floodplain. So you can see that it follows the floodplain very well. But now we've got a lot more information with this Fathom data that includes all the little tributaries that weren't previously mapped. Fathom data was completed in 2020. As an example, Starr County, the FEMA firm maps, those Zone A floodplains are really based on 1974 data. So what we are proposing for most of the counties in Region 15 is to completely replace the Zone A floodplain with the Fathom data. Now, that goes for most of the counties, but as you get closer to the coastal communities.
Sam,
yes.
On that previous slide on the pluvial,
Yes.
where on the legend you've got purple under pluvial. Is there purple on that map?
It's really the dark blue.
Okay, so it's not purple. Maybe it's my eyesight. I'm sorry. I
just tried to pick contrasting colors there, but
okay.
Yeah, so the dark blue / purple area are all the little tributaries now that we, better information that we have.
Okay, no problem. Thank you.
Yeah, and you'll see as we look at an example with the coastal area, there's a big difference. Here's Hidalgo County. So as you can see from this photo, you can see all the blue areas are the FEMA effective mapped areas. And based on old information, the gray areas, the fluvial, those are mapped based on actual open channels, probably most of which are within the Hidalgo Drainage District's network. And then when we put on the pluvial, that same blue area, the floodplain gets a lot more scattered. And that's just because the terrain through here is much less defined. It's just flatter than a pancake through this area and some of the other coastal areas. So we have to decide whether or not we want to include the pluvial. I think the fluvial data provides good information, but those dark blue areas are not directly connected to an open channel or floodplain area. So we're still trying to decide on that. I'm leaning towards removing pluvial for some of the coastal areas. And so this is the hierarchy that we are going to be taking. So best available data is the local floodplain studies. You know, those cities, they've taken their time to really study the areas, and that's good information. The next is the FEMA Zone AE detailed studies. BLE would be next in line. That's not available yet, but I've seen some of the data there. It looks really good. We're going to incorporate that where we can once available. And then the Fathom data is really replacing everything else. All the Zone A is going to go away. So hopefully, we'd like to get y'all's thoughts on that approach. And if you have any questions or comments about that, we're welcome to hear them out and try to come up with the best approach. But this is what we are recommending. So,
do we need to kind of just have a consensus, not necessarily vote on this from the group?
we can.
I would say, are there any concerns? This is how we want to proceed, Chairman. And if there's any concerns or if you have any questions, we kind of would just like to know, because this is what we'll be implementing as we start amending the quilt.
I don't mean to put anyone on the spot, but Alan, you're on, and Sonia, and some of these folks that are a little bit more attuned to what is being proposed and maybe have more knowledge. Can you give us a little insight from your perspective, Mr. Moore or Sonia?
This is Alan. I agree with the approach. I'm a little on the local floodplain says determined. I know like we had modeling done by SB back in 07, 08, and then we just did the 2D model that we finished in 2019. I consider that we have those floodplains identified in our area. I don't.
What we need, Mr. Moore, is if we could get the shape files and and the models, really the shape files, that's what we need. If we were just giving digital paper like PDFs, we can't go out and try to reproduce those to clip them in. But if you, and this is where I'd like to reach out and just say, this is what we have,
Okay.
If you have better actual shape files, we can incorporate that.
Could you contact Eric Scheibe? He would have all of that.
Okay. Yeah, I can reach out to Eric.
I don't have a computer that can run a 2D model.
Right. No, and truthfully, for the mapping exercise, it's really just the boundaries, right, that we're going to be clipping into the quilt.
Okay. But as far as the process and the priority, I don't have an issue at all.
Thank you very much, Alan, for your insight. Any other comment from anyone else on that we need to hear from, or forever hold your peace,
I agree with Alan. This is Sonia. And Christina, we'll get you some shape files as well.
Thank you, Sonia.
So is the issue become even more complicated in Cameron County?
Is that a question for Christina?
Yes, for Christina or the gentleman that made the presentation.
Or Sam? Yeah.
Yes, Sam.
I believe Cameron County has, we have most of the FEMA's detailed studies for Cameron County.
Oh, that's right. We do have more detailed. Yeah. So we have better information than Fathom.
Yes.
For Cameron, not for Willacy. Willacy, though, we don't. And it looked like that, like just a splatter of paint. over Willacy.
Yeah, in fact, we
'Cause
also
it's very
have
flat.
some local study floodplains in Cameron County that we've incorporated now too.
What data do you have on Willacy County?
Willacy County.
I don't think we have any,
No, yeah, nothing.
You have nothing on Willacy County?
just the Fathom data.
If there is some out there, Eddie, I would encourage you to have your possibly drainage district folks or whoever's
Yeah.
got it to be able to submit it to HAF so that they can incorporate it into the process.
Yeah, probably Paul Greenhill will probably have
Right.
some data, some shape files, and I don't know what else he would have. But you want me to get a hold of him, or will
That will help. And so what I'm compiling right now, Commissioner Gonzalez, is I'm compiling a list of available, what information we do have from every entity. And my goal is next week. And
Okay.
it's not just, as far as models we have, but all information that we have for the entities, sending them a list and saying, this is what we have from you, confirm or provide me better information. Because this is what is being incorporated. A lot of, I need that, especially for the FMEs and FMPs that we submitted for the tech memo, and I was going to talk about it later, but I really just have like a project name and a dollar amount, and I need more information to really, I don't even know where the project is. I can't even map an area. And so, the more information we get, the better we're able to actually evaluate it. So I'm at a point where I have, a list of information that we're running with right now, but one more final push to say, give me a better information, because we're at a critical point where we're moving forward.
GIS shape files are the best data that you can provide for us. GIS shape files of any kind of floodplain that's been studied.
Okay,
Okay.
just give me that information or whatever Paul has, because Paul would probably be Mr. Greenhill would probably be the one who would have any type of information on that. And I don't know if Troy Allen from the drainage district or the irrigation district, I know it's in Hidalgo County, but I think
He's on our distribution list.
Okay.
For Delta Lake Irrigation District.
Yes.
And the main thing that we wanted to make sure that we accomplished with this task on 2A is that, we want to make sure that if and it appears from the comments that I've heard from Mr. Moore and Sonia especially, that this is the right direction that we want you all to proceed on, that you're doing. We agree with the methodology that you're using and how you're proceeding. So, we look forward to completing the task with all the information in it.
Yep, thanks.
So let me continue. If there are no other comments, let me just.
Yes, sir.
I'm near the end here. But basically, the next step, once we get all y'all's floodplain information and we put together and map the 100-year and 500-year floodplain as we think this is the best data that we've got there. We'll have the floodplains in GIS mapped, and we will overlay that with this information here, shown here, to produce a flood exposure analysis, overlapping that floodplain with structures and critical infrastructure, power, low water crossings, industrial areas. And then that's the second part of the risk analysis. The third part is the vulnerability index, which we have most of this information already. It's just a matter of finalizing the floodplain so that we can overlay it with this and develop the vulnerability index. And then task 2B is really just a duplication of everything that we just talked about, except we're going to make some assumptions to increase the floodplain footprint based on projected development in the next 30 years. The Water Development Board has provided us with several methods that we can utilize to estimate the future conditions floodplains. We are going to recommend method 2, which is utilizing the existing conditions 500-year floodplain and basically calling that similar to the future conditions 100-year floodplain. Now that's not going to get us the future conditions 500-year, but that'll get us halfway there with data that we already have. And then similar to the hierarchy for task 2A, we're going to provide the same level of detail and same hierarchy for task 2B, future conditions floodplains, with the exception of, to get that 500-year, we're proposing to buffer the future conditions 100-year at the same ratio, most likely at the same ratio as what there was the difference between the existing 100 and 500-year floodplains. And so with that, we also want to get y'all's input on if that is a reasonable approach. With the data that we have thus far for Region 15, we think this is probably the easiest approach, but probably the most appropriate, because it's an educated guess is what it is for future floodplain conditions.
Again, I'm going to rely with Alan and Sonia. Any comments in this regard, or anyone else on there that, has any concerns or comments on this?
From what I've seen in the TFMA presentations on flood planning, the concept of using the current 500 for the future 100 is a pretty standard, normal type practice, and I think it's a good approach.
Okay. Sonia, any comments?
No, sir, I agree with Alan.
Okay. Anyone else on?
I have a quick question in general,
Sure.
if I may. Once the project is completed, would the information be available to the public in our areas that contributed for the effort, for developers, for people who are looking to grow our communities? What access will the public have after this is completed?
Total access.
Complete.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, often enough people call us to ask us how this area is or that area is, because they want to create a subdivision or they want to build a home. So we want to be able to look forward to something like this to help us answer those questions. Thank you.
Yeah, and the idea behind that, Mr. Estrada, is that with this information, even political subdivisions, whether it be municipalities, counties, drainage districts, or otherwise, would have available data when they get requests for large major developments to be occurring in their areas, to make better decisions, and hopefully at the end of the day to be able to propose good local ordinance making authority rules so that we can eliminate future potential flood prone areas and eliminate the risk of those areas, either through mitigation or through how it's built out. So it's going to be a good tool for everyone.
Excellent. Thank you.
Sam, go ahead.
That's really the end of task 2. It really boils down to that's what we are in the process of pulling together right now. I think once the floodplain is finalized, the other 2 pieces of the risk analysis will go very quickly. But this is the technical memorandum is due March 7th, and I think we're well on our way to getting that completed. Christina?
And I wanted to add, part of the task 2 is also having a public meeting. So we will be posting these. We are supposed to have a public meeting so that we can elicit, comments, because we do need to incorporate also areas that are known to flood. Maybe they've never been studied, but that this area floods. It's not mapped, but we can, through comments, identify these areas, and also to help with this input. Just like we had on the survey, those web maps, we'd like to have these flood risk maps posted on the Region 15 floodplain or website, so that we can elicit comments and start incorporating those two into the regional flood plan. So at the next meeting, I'd really like to talk about the logistics and our schedule out when this can happen. But that's something I plan to do with these flood risk maps as part of the process. And I don't think the public meeting will happen before the March 7th submittal. Like, we won't be able to incorporate those. It'll probably happen somewhere like concurrently. This effort will go on, but comments and everything will be incorporated into the draft. And so
any comments or questions on these task 2 presentations that we've gotten? And for the record, Jaime, would you make sure you note that Dr. Deo is on and has joined the meeting?
Will do, Chairman. Yes, sir.
So if you want to move on, Sam. Yes, so the Skylar Levere with SMB is going to be presenting this. I just wanted to do a brief introduction. So y'all seen this slide before, and this is the only really remaining part to task 3 is our discussion on these recommended standards. We've gone through, we've collected the data, input, we've defined our goals, and the assessment part is really looking at the flood risk maps with an eye to our goals and information to develop any recommended standards, looking at land use, our policies, and seeing if there are any standards that you want to recommend as a region. Recommending just says, you strongly encourage local entities within the regions to do this. You can go so far as adopt standards, and that really just asks the entities to adopt these standards if you want their projects to qualify for state flooding in the future. Like, that gives it a little bit more weight, but also just recommending it just really is you as a group saying this is something that we think is important, should be done. So what Skylar's going to do, and we're not going to at all go in depth into this, is just really go through the different areas of standards that we'd be looking at. So I'll turn it over to you, Skylar.
Okay, thank you, Christina. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right, good morning, Chairman and board members. I'm Scott Levere with S&B Infrastructure, and I'm going to be going over the floodplain management standards. Texas Water Development Board is encouraging all RFPGs to either recommend or adopt region-specific minimum floodplain management standards. As Christina mentioned before, it is not mandatory to take the action of adopting standards. It's for consideration. So the standards we're going to present serve as a baseline for the RFPG to consider, and they will help reduce flood risk and protect critical infrastructure. Here on the slide, you can see some of the things that they're currently adopting. Next slide. As for the current data obtained and reviewed, there's a total of 93% of counties that are currently participating in the NFIP. Of the participating counties, a total of 21% have higher than NFIP minimum standards. For the cities within the area, 94% participated in NFIP, and 21% have higher than NFIP minimum standards. The map you can see shows the pink is the counties with higher than NFIP standards, and orange the cities. Next slide, please. There are 9 different standard categories that will be described. These categories include residential, commercial, critical facilities, roadways, culvert bridges, storm drainage systems, detention facilities, dams, levees, flood walls, and property acquisition. Texas Water Development Standards are examples from the 27 communities who are currently enforcing them, and any minimum standard presented is based on the results of those surveys. All right, let's jump into the standards. For residential commercial, the minimum standard is equal to base flood elevation, with the more stringent standards recommended being the 500-year storm with additional 2 or 3 feet above BFE. For culverts and bridges, standards do not exist. Therefore, it's recommended to follow the Texas Water Development Board example, which allows for minor roadways to pass the 25 and 100-year storm with no more than 1 foot of overtopping, and major roadways to pass the 100-year storm. For dams, the minimum standards follow TCEQ requirements, and the most stringent standards is to design dams to convey 100% of the probable maximum flood. Next slide. Okay, for critical facilities, the minimum standard, again, is equal to base flood elevation. The more stringent standard is the 500-year with an additional 3 feet above BFE for new and existing construction. For storm drainage systems, the minimum standard is a 2-year capacity, which can imply that it will exceed its capacity in the case of a major stormwater event. For the most stringent standards, it calls for the ultimate condition at a 100-year capacity. For levees and flood walls, the minimum standards show that it should be compliant with FEMA requirements, while the most stringent standard is FEMA, 3 feet above BFE plus a 3 foot of freeboard, making it a total of 6 feet above BFE. Next slide. For roadways, the minimum standard is conveying 2 years over the top of curb, with the most stringent standard allowing for an additional freeboard of 100-year and ultimate condition, which ensure better flood protection. For detention facilities, the minimum standard allows for no increase in the 25-year peak flow, and the most stringent standard calls for no increase in peak flow for up to 100 years. And finally, we got property acquisition. Standards do not exist at this time, but it's recommended to follow the Texas Water Development Board example, which include requirements for land use and oversight over these little sections, which include open space requirements, subsequent transfer, inspection, monitoring and reporting, and enforcement. So this is kind of like a quick overview of standards that we could choose to adopt or not. So I'll pass it over to Christina and she can kind of get into that a little bit more.
Thanks, Skylar. So yeah, honestly, those were just examples that were provided in your guidance. And I think Megan had emailed these to you before. So, you know, what's given us the most is really a guideline. You don't have to be at most. You can pick anything that really works for the region. It doesn't have to be anything that you've seen on the list or even in those areas. This was just to give you guys something to keep in the back of your mind as you start looking at these flood risk maps in the future, like at our next meeting, and start to see if maybe there's something we might want to investigate a little bit more or recommend. So task 4, next slide. So task 4, I just wanted to give you an update. The point of task 4 is to really identify the areas that had the greatest risk, flood risk, to identify the gaps, you know, where are the needs, and start out identifying, you know, projects, FMEs, FMPs, and FMSs, right, to start addressing these. And what we submitted in the tech memo, next slide. What we submitted in the tech memo, we didn't include any gaps because we needed to do task 2, right? After we're done with task 2, we'll be able to see, okay, where do we need better information? Where are those gaps? What we also need to do is include some updates. We've got updates to hazard mitigation action plans, and really get better information from the entities. So like I said, we'll be sending out this list. So pretty much what we've done so far as task force, collect data. It needs to be improved, right? So this is where we're going to do our outreach. We're going to be supplementing it with our knowledge from task 2. And so far, the only screening that we did for the tech memo was do these study, evaluations, projects, and strategies line up or with the goals that the region approved. That's been the only screening. So what's remaining on task 4 is I have a good list now. I think we have, all the projects. It's a longer list than what was included in the tech memo because we continue to work. And this is why I'm at a point where I'll be reaching out this next week to all the entities. So make sure if you didn't hear from me that you reach out, because we're at a point where I need to get the best information so that we can start analyzing and then move forward and get ready for task 5. Because like I mentioned, a lot of we didn't really map a lot of the projects or strategies because I don't know more than the name and a dollar amount. And I know some of these projects that were included in these hazard mitigation plans came from a master drainage study. And so there's better information out there. We just don't have the benefit of that. And so I'm hoping that reaching out, I could get that and we could start adding information as far as like benefit cost ratio, negative impacts, all these other fields that will help us really do a good evaluation and see if these are real projects that are at a state where we can call them a project, or maybe they need to be investigated and studied a little bit more, and maybe they should really be identified as a study. Or the amendment really allows for us to carry some of these projects that aren't really clearly defined. Maybe we can carry that and try to identify some of them. I don't think that we'll be able to do a lot, but some of them, and carry those so that we do list more projects in our plan, because that's what we want to do, is just list as many projects as we can so those qualify for state funding in the future. So just wanted to give you guys an update and make sure that you have your ears out, you're reaching out, letting them know, you're going to get a list or an inventory of what we have this far. Any better information, verify it. Maybe we have an old, I know, like I just got the updated Hidalgo County Hazard Mitigation Action Plan. So what we're doing right now is just reviewing, because we incorporated the old one, the old Hazard Mitigation Action Plan items, and they just adopted one in November, I think. So, we're going through and reviewing those to make sure we have the most up-to-date information. So I just wanted to let y'all know that's my update for task 4. So, yeah. Oh, and so this is what I was talking about. We'll be reaching out and then applying the process that we identified as part of task 4B to it. And look ahead. The second deliverables associated with the tech memo are due March 7th. And so at this next meeting, we'll be applying the methodologies that we discussed today. And you'll have the flood risk maps to look at. You'll have some preliminary analysis as far as like the hazards, the exposures, and the vulnerabilities that, based on those maps. And yes, and I'd like to talk about how we're gonna, the planning meeting and how, when, where we're gonna, have this so we can start soliciting input on the flood risk maps, because we'll need that for the final plan. And that concludes my presentation today. I don't know if anybody has any questions.
Any questions from any of the board members or any of the folks that are on the line that wish to make any comments in regards to the update from Christina and Sam and also from Skylar? Okay, thereby needing none, there's no action to be taken. This is just a discussion and update. Our next item is public comment. Jaime, do we have anyone on the line that wishes to make any public comment?
No, sir.
No one has signed up online, okay. Then item number 13 is consider the date and agenda for our next meeting. After visiting with Christina earlier today, it appears that February the 23rd at 9:30 a.m. is a good time for the next meeting. It allows them time to work and also gives them time after the meeting so that they can meet the March 7th deadline for turning in that technical report that needs to be done. So we will tentatively, Jaime and board members, set our next meeting for February the 23rd at 9:30 a.m. And any other comments from any of the board members or any of the folks online or Megan before we go to our next item? If not, I want to thank everyone for their time this morning. And, the meeting was very timely, a lot of information presented. And we look forward to our next meeting where we start tying together all of these tasks and moving forward with building the product that we need to build for our region. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion.
Is there a
Commissioner
second?
Gonzalez.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
Second.
Sonia Lambert seconded. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those against, the same sign. Our meeting is adjourned and you will have subsequent information. We plan to meet on the 23rd at 9:30 a.m. again. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.